Welcome to episode 60, Bill Gates, Revolutionary and Visionary of the Software Industry. This is an outline of episode 60. There are two reasons to study Bill Gates. First, Bill Gates is the richest and most important self-made billionaire in the world in the past 26 years. Second, Bill Gates almost single-handedly created the software industry in the 1970s. So, what makes software so important? There are three features. First, 900% profit margin. Second, marginal cost is zero. Third, the speed of deployment. Just look at Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola has a 300% profit margin, but software has a 900% profit margin. What about marginal cost? If this is the fast food industry, if you want to increase your customer by 1 million, you probably have to hire 500 people, rent more warehouse, and rent more trucks. If you are Facebook and you increase your customer base by 1 million, you probably only have to hire one extra software engineer. Number three, speed of deployment. For example, if you want to deploy 10 million pieces of hardware from the United States to somewhere in Europe, it would take months. For software, you can deploy from one end of the world to the other end in 5 seconds. Please remember this if you're serious about making money. Bill Gates is the first to separate the software from the hardware in the computer industry. He probably accidentally discovered this. His real passion is software, not money. And Microsoft became one of the world's most powerful and richest company. It was started by two nerds in the dormitory of Harvard University in 1975. Now, in Bill Gates' own words, Microsoft is a platform for knowledge workers and developers.
In a sense, be gearing up in the future to fight for, among other things, the home.
Well, certainly there's a positive competitive dynamic there. The philosophy of the two companies is different in some pretty fundamental ways. AOL is not building a platform for tens of thousands of software companies to come in and build great things on top of that. They're not going after knowledge workers and making them more effective in their job. They own magazines and movies, and so they want to take just their magazines and their content and integrate that into their experience.
Now, in Steve Ballmer's words, developer, developer, developer.
Company, yes! Developers, 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 developers. Yes!
I was a software developer in the 1990s. Macintosh and OS/2 was superior operating system, more stable, and no blue screen of death. But no developer wrote software for OS/2 and Macintosh computer. The Macintosh died because there was not enough software. I was a developer in the 1990s. OS/2 wanted to charge me $8,000 before I wrote my first line of code. In contrast, I could write software for Windows without paying Bill Gates 1 penny of royalty. This, in a nutshell, is how Microsoft killed IBM. So, how did Microsoft become world dominant? Let me quote Aristotle. Pay attention to your enemies, for they are the first to discover your mistakes. Look at this picture. This is Sam Walton, who was richer than Bill Gates. And don't pay attention to the dog, but instead pay attention to your competitors. Walmart managers begin every day by spying on the prices of its competitors. But what about the epic fight between Microsoft and Apple between 1976 and 1985? Let's take a look at the nasty commercial of Apple on Microsoft products. Yes, Steve Jobs can be mean and nasty too.
It's all this trial software. They pack my hard drive full of it, all these programs that don't do very much unless you buy the whole thing, or are just plain useless. Oh, it really slows me down.
You know how it is. Oh, actually, I don't. Macs just come with the stuff you want, like iTunes, iMovie, iPhoto, iWeb. It's all part of iLife.
Yeah.
Are you
Let's
ready?
just do this, okay?
Okay. Hello, I'm Mac.
I forgot something.
Here's a direct comment from the young Steve Jobs.
The only problem with Microsoft is they just have no taste. They don't think of original ideas, and they don't bring much culture into their product. I am saddened, not by Microsoft's success. I have no problem with their success. They've earned their success, for the most part. I have a problem with the fact that they just make really third-rate products.
Here are the 4 reasons why Apple self-destruct rather than was killed by Bill Gates. Reason number 1, let's look at the dates. Steve Jobs was ousted from Apple in September 1985. 2 months later, Windows 1.0 was launched by Microsoft on November 20th, 1985. Windows 1.0, or first version, was not commercially viable, meaning it lost money. Here's a picture of John Sculley, the sugar water Pepsi man hired by Steve Jobs. History will show us John Sculley was responsible for Steve Jobs being kicked out of Apple Computer, not Bill Gates. The main reason Steve Jobs was kicked out was the poor sales of the Macintosh. The Mac was bleeding cash in 1985. Reason number 2, Macintosh died because of lack of software, not because of Microsoft. In the early days of Apple, Microsoft wrote most of the application softwares for Apple. This is Microsoft Multiplan, the spreadsheet of the early Apple computer. Reason number 3, both Steve Jobs and Bill Gates got most of its technology from Park Xerox. Steve Jobs started in 1979, 2 years ahead of Bill Gates.
In 1979, in a stock deal reportedly worth $1 million, Steve Jobs was allowed access to Xerox PARC, the company's famed research and development laboratory. Jobs and his team saw the future here, the way computers would be used, including the use of graphics and a small device that had not yet been revealed to the outside world, a mouse.
Reason number 4, Steve Jobs and Bill Gates would reconcile later in 1997 with Microsoft investing in Apple Computer. It was one of history's most famous reconciliation.
Bill Gates, who had long been considered Jobs' main rival, would invest in Apple Computer.
Microsoft invested 100%.
This is not to say Bill Gates was not mean. It is true Bill Gates is a lot less creative than the inventor Steve Jobs. Bill Gates got rich by copycat, just cut and paste intellectual property from competitors. According to Bill Gates, intellectual property has the shelf life of a banana. Here's Bill Gates, the Banana Man. In my next video, I will cover Bill Gates and the evil empire. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe and leave your comments and questions below. Wishing everyone peace and prosperity.